There is no temple at the age of 69 years of worry. The world is hard, long life is not easy. Yin and Yang are reversed in a dream, and in the next life. I beg. In the afterglow of the setting sun and the bleak autumn wind, in the Dehao dynasty, inside the Changchun temple, Taoist King Yun, with white hair and desolation, did not change his original intention, and passed away with 3 long howls. Liu Chen woke up slowly on the bed, wiped away the tears from the corners of his eyes, and said sadly, 3 days. After traveling for 3 days, Liu Chen was in a daze, and he didn't get better until today. He remembered the past and his predecessor. He drank a bowl of herbal tea and turned his head to look around. Viewing is still the same view. A few houses, a 3-acre courtyard, mud walls and blue tiles, and a young man in a thin shirt. So, how did the original owner die? Liu Chen frowned slightly. He only remembered that after the original owner secretly cremated Taoist King Yun, he returned to the Taoist temple with the ashes in his arms. As soon as he opened the door, a black shadow suddenly rushed over, and he lost consciousness. Ghost. Or evil. Liu Chen sat up slightly and searched through his past memories, but still found nothing. Leave it alone. Liu Chen shook his head, stretched out his hand in front of him, and a light curtain appeared out of thin air. Name, Liu Chen. Identity, Master of Changchun Temple Cultivation Method, Nun Spell, Nun Spiritual Root, Pseudo-Spiritual Root Fist, Rejuvenation Fist. Proficiency, upgrade conditions can be expanded. Pseudo-Spiritual Roots. Liu Chen murmured, a little bit bitterly, what sounds nice is a false spiritual root, and what sounds bad is no spiritual root. It is not impossible to practice without spiritual root, but it is difficult. It is necessary to open the spiritual aperture before it can accept non-attribute spiritual energy into the body, and for people with spiritual roots, the spiritual aperture is innately opened. It is difficult to say it is difficult to open the spiritual aperture, and it is not difficult to say it is not difficult. People with backers. All it takes is a single resuscitating pill, or the elders can perform a method of spiritual resuscitation method. If not, chances are fine, and by coincidence, there are not a few people who open their spiritual orifices by mistake. Unfortunately, the original owner has nothing. Even Master King Yun Taoist is only a half-baked key training 3rd-level practitioner, unable to perform the spirit opening method. Fortunately, I can upgrade. Liu Chen smiled slightly, and pointed to the words Rejuvenation Fist Proficient, and suddenly, a light curtain stretched out from below. Rejuvenation Boxing Upgrade Conditions. 1. Practice boxing for half a day, not achieved. 2. A Soul Essence, unachieved. 3. 10 Taels of Silver, unachieved. 3 Conditions. Liu Chen was thoughtful. It was easy to practice boxing for half a day. With King Yun Guan's foundation, 10 Taels of Silver was also easy. But the soul doesn't know how to calculate it. It would be a bit troublesome to kill someone. If animals count, it's easy. King Yun Temple covers an area of 3 mu. Except for him, a lone family, there are more than a dozen chickens, ducks, and a live pig. Liu Chen rushed out of the room excitedly, picked up a short knife by the door, and went straight to the duck pen in the southeast corner. This short knife was a spoil left by the robbers when they attacked the city 3 days ago. The place where he is located is Yulyuan Prefecture in the northern border of Dehao Dynasty. Fengxian Town. Now it is the last year of the dynasty, the world is in turmoil, internal and external troubles, more demons are in trouble, and ghosts are fierce. 3 days ago, the town soldiers in Fengxian Town went to encircle a group of robbers in the nearby Dian Mountain. Did not expect. The group of robbers got the news in advance, and the leader Wu Daoist shot a feint, took advantage of the vacancy, and directly led people to break through Fengxian Town, looting, burning, killing and looting. If the town soldiers did not return in time to help, the entire Fengxian Town will be destroyed. Taoist King Yun died in that battle. Quack Liu Chen was so aggressive that he caused more than a dozen ducks to scream in panic. He jumped into the duck pen and grabbed the slowest one with his hand. He took another clay pot and swiped it with a dagger. Pft! He cut the duck's neck with a knife, and when the duck stopped struggling, the light curtain in front of him trembled slightly, and finally changed. Rejuvenation boxing upgrade conditions: 1. Practice boxing for half a day, not achieved. 2. A soul essence, achieved. 3. 10 taels of silver, unachieved. Okay, great. Liu Chen was overjoyed, threw the dead duck on the ground, walked quickly to the middle of the courtyard, excitedly put on a posture, and began to practice Huishunquan. Adjust your breathing. Sit down and sit on the horse. Hey, drink, lift your feet and punch. Punch and kick. Toss and turn. The more you play, the more proficient you are, and the more you play, the more fun you will be. Waving the pipa. Step on the sparrow's tail. Hey ha! The rejuvenation boxing practiced by the original owner since he was a child gradually merged into Liu Chen's body. It wasn't until he was tired and out of breath, and starved of hunger, that Liu Chen was willing to stop. He hurriedly made a pot of stewed duck and ate 3 bowls of rice. Start practicing again. It wasn't until afternoon that the conditions for practicing boxing for half a day were finally fulfilled. Liu Chen washed his face, walked quickly into the room, and carrying a short knife, he dug a stone brick under the bed and took out a rectangular object. Lifting off the coarse cloth wrapped in it, a wooden box was revealed. This wooden box is slightly wider than the sword box. It holds all the relics left to him by Master King Yun Taoist. Open the wooden box. The most conspicuous thing is a 3-foot-inch mahogany sword. This sword is the only magical weapon of Taoist King Yun. It is said that it is made of 500 years of mahogany wood. It can ward off evil spirits and drive away ghosts. At the sword jaw, there are 4 tadpole-like Dao patterns. Beside the mahogany sword, there were 3 yellowed books, a small exquisite jade bottle, a letter, and besides that, a small pile of scattered gold and silver. Liu Chen counted. It was found that there were 55 taels of silver and 3 taels of gold. He was about to hold the 10 taels of silver in his hand. The light curtain in front of him trembled suddenly, and the data panel changed again. Rejuvenation boxing upgrade conditions: 1. Half a day of boxing practice, achieved. 2. A soul essence, achieved. 3. 10 taels of silver, achieved. Name: Liu Chen. Identity: Master of Changchun Temple Cultivation Method, Nun Spell, Nun Spiritual Root, Pseudo-Spiritual Root Fist, Rejuvenation Fist. Proficiency, can be upgraded. Plus. Upgrade. Liu Chen was slightly excited. Yu reading www.yuuganshu.com stretches his hand a little behind plus. His whole body trembled, and he felt a cool air rushing straight to his forehead. In an instant, a villain appeared in his mind, and he began to practice Huishun Fist one by one. Crackling, there was a series of violent noises from his body. His fists became harder, his limbs became more powerful, his body became stronger and slender, his complexion became more rosy, and at the same time, a trace of strength began to be generated in his body. Liu Chen felt refreshed all over, wishing he could raise his head to the sky and let out a long howl. When he came back to his senses, the original owner had been using the rejuvenation fist that had been standing still for 3 years. It is already Dachin. 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 The feeling of upgrading, it's so cool. Liu Chen let out a long breath and gradually calmed down. He only felt that he had 200 catties of strength when he waved his hand, and his strength was already impressive. He looked at the light curtain and stretched out his hand to tap lightly. Rejuvenation boxing upgrade conditions: 1. Practice boxing for 1 day, unachieved. 2. 5 essences, unachieved. 3. 20 taels of silver, unachieved. Keep working hard. Liu Chen grinned, and turned his attention to the 3 books in the wooden box. The names of the 3 books were Rejuvenation Fist, Practicing Qi Ju and Su Nu Secret Tao Jing. Thanks for watching, please subscribe. Proficiency is divided into entry, proficiency, mastery, and completion. There are 3 levels of spells, namely common level, authentic level, and secret level. This Rejuvenation Fist is just an ordinary level that does not enter the ranks. Liu Chen can already memorize it fluently, so he doesn't need to read it at all. He picked up the Qi Practicing Ju. After looking through it carefully, I found that Qi Lian Ju is also an ordinary level exercise, but the rank is 1 level higher, belonging to the first level Qi training environment. In the last few pages, there are also 2 spells recorded. One is called Sword Control. One is called Circular Light Art. However, he has no aura, so he can't practice for the time being. Putting down the Qi training formula, Liu Chen picked up the Su Nu Secret Dao Jing, and saw that the opening chapter read, Clothes unravel gold and powder royals, and the pictures are on the pillow. Su Nu is my teacher, and her demeanor is full of 10,000 squares. That's right. This is a serious dual cultivation method. This. Liu Chen recalled Taoist King Yun's usually serious appearance, and suddenly he was speechless and a little out of harmony. Well, I'm ignorant. Liu Chen looked through it carefully, put down the scripture book, and looked at his data. Name, Liu Chen. Identity, Master of Changchun Temple Cultivation Method. I haven't started practicing Qi Ju. The upgrade conditions can be expanded. Spell, Non-Spiritual Root, Pseudo-Spiritual Root Fist, Rejuvenation Fist Dacheng. Upgrade conditions can be expanded. Expand. Expand. Liu Chen clicked twice, and the upgrade conditions of the 2 exercises were displayed below. Conditions for upgrading Qi training formula: 1. Practice for 100 days, 0/100 has not been achieved. 2. 10 grains of spiritual sand, 0/10 not achieved. Conditions for the upgrade of Su Nu Secret Dao Sutra: 1. 1 level of Qi training, unachieved. 2. 1 Taoist companion, unachieved. 3. Double cultivation 10 times, unachieved. You don't need the opening pill. Liu Chen was thoughtful. He picked up the porcelain bottle in the box, uncorked the bottle, and saw that it was filled with colorful sand, which was indeed spiritual sand. He poured it out and counted, and found that there were 32 grains of spiritual sand in total. Thus, the second condition of practicing Qi Ju has been fulfilled. Only practice for 100 days is left. If this is the case, just work hard, without any accident, you will be able to become a real Qi practitioner in 100 days. And, after several observations, Liu Chen has already determined that the upgrade conditions shown on the light curtain are actually the easiest conditions for him to achieve. Unfortunately, it took too long. Someone killed the original owner with a suspected evil method. Liu Chen naturally couldn't sit still, otherwise, when he slowly stepped into the Qi training environment, the body might have rotted. Therefore, the focus of this training should still be on upgrading the Rejuvenation Fist. Open the last envelope. Liu Chen saw a letter written by Taoist King Yun in a hexagonal token. The letter is used to prove Liu Chen's identity, and the token is the order of the outer disciple of Eternal Spring Valley. If one day he can step into the Qi refining realm, he can take the token and letter to the Changchun Valley and get an Eternal Spring Valley. Outer disciple status. You are like a master, like a father. Liu Chen sighed, put away his things, walked out of the room and slaughtered 5 ducks, and seized the time to continue practicing boxing. Hey ha! From noon to the slanting sun, and then to midnight, Liu Chen finally fulfilled the condition of practice boxing for 1 day, so he immediately fetched 20 taels of silver, and the light curtain in front of him trembled again. Name, Liu Chen. Fist technique, Rejuvenation Fist Dacheng, can be upgraded. Plus. Upgrade. Crackling, there was a violent sound in the bones, and when Liu Chen came back to his senses, the rejuvenation fist had reached completion, and the strength of his gestures was close to more than 300 catties, and the light curtain in front of him changed again. Name: Liu Chen Fist Technique. Rejuvenation fist is complete, the promotion conditions can be expanded. Advanced. Expand. Rejuvenation boxing promotion conditions. 1. A grain of spiritual sand, not achieved. 2. 10 catties of flesh and blood, unachieved. Leveling up has become a promotion, and there is no need to practice boxing anymore, but spiritual sand and flesh and blood are needed. This one is simple. Without delay, Liu Chen quickly took out a grain of spiritual sand, and brought 3 dead ducks, and the data changed instantly. Name: Liu Chen Fist Technique. Rejuvenation fist is complete, can be promoted. Plus. Advanced. Liu Chen took a deep breath, and immediately clicked on plus. Brush. Lingsha and the duck disappeared out of thin air. Liu Chen's bones made a loud noise, and then the muscles on his body began to squirm, crawling around like a little mouse. It wasn't until 4 or 5 breaths later that he gradually calmed down. Unbelievable! Liu Chen moved his hands and feet, and found that his height had grown by 3 inches, and his strength was also close to 400 catties. At the age of 16, he was a young man with a youthful appearance, and he already had the bearing of an adult. The light curtain in front of him suddenly trembled, and when it stabilized, the data changed drastically. Name: Liu Chen Boxing. Mastery of Changchun Boxing. Upgrade conditions can be expanded. Changchun Boxing upgrade conditions. 1. Practice boxing for 1 day, unachieved. 2. 5 essences, unachieved. 3. 20 taels of silver, unachieved. Conditions for upgrading Qi training formula. 1. 90 days of hard training, 0/90 not achieved. 2. 9 grains of spiritual sand, 0/9 not achieved. Rejuvenation fist is a thing of the past. The Changchun Boxing, which has been promoted to the authentic level, is mastery from the beginning because of the same lineage. In addition, there have been new changes in the Qi training formula, and the requirements for all aspects have been lowered. The future is promising. It was getting late. Liu Chen suppressed the excitement in his heart, and hurriedly went to bed with the mahogany sword in his arms. The next day, the sky was twilight, and he got up again to continue practicing. Time is like passing water, light is also in a hurry. In a blink of an eye. 3 days have passed. In the past 3 days, Liu Chen closed the door tightly and concentrated on practicing boxing without leaving a single step. During this period, someone knocked on the door several times, but Liu Chen just observed secretly and ignored it. There are 2 waves of town soldiers, and the other waves are ordinary people who want something. Seeing that no one opened the door for a long time, he left, but there was one person who lingered around, sneaking around, knocking on the door from time to time, and Liu Chen watched coldly, wanting to see what the other person was up to. This evening. Boom! Liu Chen was practicing boxing in the room when he suddenly heard a slight landing sound. His heart trembled. He silently put away his fists and looked out from the crack of the door. He saw a man wearing a hood tiptoeing towards the room under the high wall. Pushing open a room door. Probe into the brain, look carefully. Soon, this person came to the left room where Liu Chen lived. Squeak, the door opened and the man walked in quietly. Brush. On the beam, Liu Chen jumped down suddenly. Just as the opponent was about to throw a punch, Liu Chen kicked him on the neck. With a muffled grunt, he fell straight to the ground. This one. Liu Chen landed steadily, feeling a little uncomfortable for a moment, reached out and pulled off the opponent's hood. His face changed slightly. Monk. Kuchen Temple. Changchun Temple is located in the northeast corner of Fengxian Town, Yu Kansha www. Yuyuganshu.com is located in a remote place. Kuchen Temple is in the south. One is a private Taoist temple, deserted, and the other is full of incense, one south and one north. There has never been any enmity. Let's have a trial. Liu Chen sighed, and found a rope to tie him up. The night was dark, and Liu Chen was still practicing Chongchun boxing, sweating profusely, panting, and finally stopped until midnight, muttering, finally I can upgrade again. Chongchun boxing upgrade conditions: 1. 3 days of boxing training, achieved. 2. 10 essences, achieved. 3. 3 taels of gold, achieved. Name: Liu Chen Fist Technique, great achievement in Chongchun Fist, can be upgraded. Plus. Upgrade. Liu Chen didn't delay, he stretched out his hand just a little bit, and when everything calmed down, the authentic level Chongchun boxing had reached perfection. With every move, he had more than 600 kattis of strength, and the statistics also showed unprecedented changes. Name: Liu Chen Fist Method, Chongchun Fist is perfect, upgrade conditions can be expanded, optional. Expand. Conditions for promotion of Chongchun boxing: 1. 5 grains of spiritual sand, unachieved. 2. 100 kattis of flesh and blood, unachieved. Conditions for promotion of Chongchun boxing: 1. 10 grains of spiritual sand, unachieved. 2. 1 boxing book, unachieved. 3. 100 kattis of flesh and blood, unachieved. 2 choices. One is promotion and the other is promotion. Chongchun boxing can be promoted to the non-advanced secret level boxing method, or simply advanced to the first level Qi training method. The secret storage level boxing method may have greater potential, but Liu Chen urgently needs to protect himself now. I prefer to be promoted to the first rank. But there is no rush. If you want to advance, you need another boxing technique. It should be almost there. With a mutter, Liu Chen got out of the left wing and walked towards the right wing. Just as he came to the door, he heard a sobbing sound from inside. The right wing was sealed by Liu Chen. It became a small black room. This talent was imprisoned for half the night, and he couldn't hold on any more. Holding the oil lamp, Liu Chen walked into the room, closed the door with a bang, stretched out his hand and tore off the gag tabby socks, and stuck the oil lamp on the other person's face, revealing a fat head with big ears and a frightened face. Name: Hui Neng. From where? Bang. From where? Ku Chan's other courtyard. Hui Neng, 23 years old, was sent to Kuchen Monastery as a guest monk. He has been in the monastery for 5 years and has practiced Vajra fist and Kasyapa hands. His status is slightly better than that of a new monk. It is still the bottom layer of Kuchen temple. The other party directly obeyed the orders of the intellectual guest in the living room, the great monk Yuan Zhen. The task this time was to monitor the Chongchun temple and find out the reality of the Chongchun temple. And the foundation of the entire Kuchen temple was completely exposed in front of Liu Chen. There are hundreds of monks in Kuchen temple, divided into 3 levels: Archmage, Great Monk, Monk and Bhikkhu. Monks and bhikkhus are the lowest level, and great monks are the middle level. There are ways to forge the body in practice, and there are strong and weak strengths. As for the Archmage, those who practice the law, or those who practice both body and method, are respected in status, and they are all masters of Qi training. Yuan Zhen. Liu Chen frowned deeply. The strength of this circle is not weak. It is said that it can rival the great mage of the Qi training realm, and it is not known what the other party is plotting, but it is not difficult to guess. Most of it is a relic of plotting Taoist King Yun. It's either a method, or a magical tool, the mahogany sword. Fortunately, since the other party sent people to inquire, most of them still don't know the exact news of Taoist King Yun's death, and he still has time to make arrangements. Moreover, there is the Zhenbing mansion on top, so the other party does not dare to be too blatant. After some threats and intimidation, Liu Chen successfully obtained the training methods of Vajra Fist and Kajiapa Hands. In this way, there is only one last condition left for the promotion of Changchun Fist, which is 100 caddies of flesh and blood. The small black room suddenly fell silent. Liu Chen looked hesitant, and glanced at Monk Huaneng. 100 caddies of flesh and blood is not a small amount. The chickens and ducks that have been killed one after another in the past few days must not be enough, so, there are only two choices. A Huaneng. A live pig. Fat pig loves so much, he is a little bit reluctant. Between life and death, Huaneng felt something in his heart, and almost passed out from fright for a moment. His bound body shook like chaff, and he said in horror, don't kill me. I have something to say. Liu Chen smelled a smell of feces and urine, took 2 steps back in disgust, and said fiercely, speak up if you have something to say, and if you linger, I'll kill you. I said, I have been cast on me, and if you kill me, you will suffer. Oh. Liu Chen raised his eyebrows, became interested, and asked, what technique? Evil, sorcery. Really, I don't believe it. Liu Chen held the oil lamp in his left hand, and the short knife for slaughtering ducks in his right hand, and stabbed forward. Huaneng almost died of fright, broke down and cried, whoa, I really don't know. I will be ordered to do all the dirty things. Last month, I helped him bury a little lady. A few days ago, he helped him abduct a pretty nun. Yesterday he called me into the room. He drew symbols and needles, and told me. Tell me not to be afraid, even if you die, you can't escape from his palm, woo 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 tisk tisk. What a Kuchen temple! Liu Chen's face turned cold, this big monk Yuan really knows how to play, he is also a little lady, and a pretty nun, humph, it is simply too hateful, this Huaneng is probably a guy who helps evildoers. Not enough. Same it. However, Liu Chen had some scruples about that sorcery after all, so he couldn't run away at all, until he leveled up. Coming out of the right wing, Liu Chen went straight to the pig pen with a knife in his hand. Second senior brother, I'm here to see you. Humph hum humph humph chirp chirp. The second senior brother weighed more than 200 caddies, and his strength when struggling desperately was even more frightening. Liu Chen simply put his hand on the second senior brother's head, letting him struggle desperately. Still steady. After tossing half a stick of incense, the second senior brother finally swallowed his last breath. Okay. Liu Chen put down the dagger, took out the porcelain bottle from his arms, carefully poured out 10 grains of spiritual sand, and the light curtain in front of him suddenly changed. Conditions for promotion of Changchun boxing: 1. 10 grains of spiritual sand, completed. 2. 1 boxing technique, achieved. 3. 100 caddies of flesh and blood, achieved. Name: Liu Chen. Identity: Master of Changchun Temple Cultivation Method, a little spell, non-spiritual root, pseudo-spiritual root palm technique, Kajiapa has not yet started, upgrade conditions can be expanded. Fist: Vajra Fist has not been started, upgrade conditions can be expanded, Changchun Fist is complete, can be promoted. Plus. I'm so excited, I'm about to advance. Liu Chen's heart was pounding, and he didn't know much about the advanced stage. He only knew that it led to the extraordinary, and it was also the beginning of longevity. The original owner couldn't ask for it before. Now he, Liu Chen, is about to step in. Advanced. Liu Chen took a deep breath and pointed at plus. The spiritual sand was shattered into powder, and nearly half of the second senior brother's flesh and blood disappeared out of thin air. A shivering feeling rushed straight to the sky. Liu Chen couldn't help but tremble, his whole body began to feel hot, getting hotter and hotter, like a big stove, so hot. Throat also started to itch, very itchy and itchy. Cough cough cough. Liu Chen couldn't help coughing, coughing so hard that he was dying. Pfft! Then he opened his mouth and spat out a big mouthful of black blood. His body seemed to have broken through an invisible boundary. In an instant, everything was quiet, and the world was bright. Jujushu's Hasha Fluffling, hey, this fool cut half of the rope for me just now, haha, he didn't even lock the door, just wait, when Huaneng escapes, I must call Uncle Yuan Zhen, I want you to die. Crickets chirped in the corner. A multi-legged centipede crawled quickly under the dry grass, a grey and white short-tailed sparrow flew by under the night sky, holding a winged black bug in its mouth, and in the right wing, the monk Huaneng was ecstatic and murmured, suppressed. Quietly opened the concealed door. Everything is so clear, and it weakens many times in an instant. Crackling Liu Chen squeezed his fist hard, his bones groaned, his bare skin showed an abnormal black-red color, his eyes became very bright, and he looked up at the night sky that was no longer completely dark. Reading www.yukanshu.com was both surprised and happy, and murmured, Immortality, Eternal Spring Skill. Name, Liu Chen. Identity, Master of Changchun Temple Cultivation Method, Introduction to Immortal Changchun Kung Fu, Upgrade conditions can be expanded. Spell, Non-Spiritual Root, Pseudo-Spiritual Root Palm Technique, Kajyapa has not yet started, upgrade conditions can be expanded. Changchun Boxing has been promoted to a first-order ordinary body training method Changchun Kung Fu of Immortality. Because of the same lineage, if you start it directly, your body will also be transformed in all directions, and you will move your hands and feet. It has a lot of strength. He didn't realize too much about the changes in his body. Holding the short knife stained with pig's blood, he walked out of the pigsty sullenly. When he turned his head, he saw Monk Huaneng tiptoeing over the wall in the dark night. Die! Liu Chen smiled coldly, and threw out the dagger in his hand. The short knife spun and flew out nearly 10 meters, and stabbed the opponent's back of the head with a knife, and went straight into the small half. Monk Huaneng fell off the courtyard wall with a plop, his body twitched and looked in Liu Chen's direction. Hey, you, did you do it on purpose? Liu Chen walked over slowly, without saying a word, and looked at the other party quietly, as if looking at a dying prey. Ho! Ho, I'm dead, and you won't be able to live either. I have been rewarded by Uncle Yuan Zhen's ghost. Huaneng's face gradually became ferocious, and he gritted his teeth and said, You want to be buried with me. As he finished speaking, his expression froze in vain, but his mouth grew bigger and bigger, the corner of his mouth was torn, blood spurted out, and a black and blue character stood out on his forehead. The character twisted violently, as if something was about to break free. Huaneng's mouth became longer and more terrifying, like a blood hole that swallowed his own head directly, and something like a cloud of black mist finally broke free. Woo woo woo, the dark wind howled, and the black air surged. Huaneng's body was limp on the ground, and Monk Huaneng's ferocious face was highlighted from the black mist, laughing wildly, howling, and hitting Liu Chen's face. Ghost Report. Liu Chen was not afraid, and looked at it calmly, as if he was looking at a novel thing, until the black mist rushed in front of him. He suddenly opened his mouth and spit out. A wave of dark red air gushed out, a foot away from the mouth, and the black mist collided with the red wave, melting as quickly as ice and snow. Oh no no no! Monk Huaneng let out a miserable scream, and in the blink of an eye, the black mist melted under the red waves without a trace left. Liu Chen opened his mouth and took a breath, the air wave came back into his mouth, and he smiled calmly, this one. Hee, you don't know anything about me. The thing he spit out just now is called breath of pure yang. Since the beginning of the immortal Changchun Kung Fu just now, there has been one more mouthful. Pure yang body. The breath of pure yang. 9. The body of pure yang. Liu Chen was looking forward to this. For the sake of contributing two methods, Liu Chen buried Huaneng's body under the big locust tree in the temple, endured the stench, and tidied up the right wing before looking at the light in front of him. Curtain, reach out a little, expand. Conditions for Immortal Eternal Spring Skill Upgrade: 1. Practice for 3 days, 0/3 failed. 2. 3 dead souls, 1/3 not achieved. 3. 10 grains of spiritual sand, 0/10 not achieved. Revenant. The essence that was originally needed has become a dead soul, because I have just collected one after killing Huaneng. If so, it seems that killing chickens and ducks will not work. Revenant souls mostly refer to people, and the souls of chickens and ducks are called Jingpo. Liu Chen was thoughtful, and turned his attention to 2 chickens and a duck. These are the only 3 little guys left in the Taoist temple after he suffered a lot. It's so cute, I'm a bit reluctant, but I still have to confirm it. Quack. After a while, the last duck resisted in vain and fell into a pool of blood. There were only 2 shivering chicks left in the Taoist temple of Nuda. Pairs and pairs, neat and tidy, that's fine. Liu Chen nodded in satisfaction, like a great devil, looking at the data that has not changed at all, and finally confirmed his guess. Revenant equals dead essence equals chicken and duck. Immortal Changchun Kung Fu is a body training method, which is Liu Chen's current major. Because it needs dead souls, it may affect the progress of the practice. However, other things also need to be improved. The Vajra fist has been integrated into the Immortal Changchun Kung Fu. Although the memory is still there and he can practice it, it is no longer displayed on the light screen. There are only 3 things he can improve. Expand. 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 Conditions for upgrading Qi training formula: 1. Practice hard for 50 days, 1/50th not achieved. 2. 5 grains of spiritual sand, 0/5 not achieved. Conditions for the upgrade of Su Nu Secret Dao Sutra: 1. 1 level of Qi training, unachieved. 2. 1 Taoist companion, unachieved. 3. Double cultivation 10 times, unachieved. Conditions for upgrading Kajyapa hand: 1. Practice palm for half a day, unachieved. 2. 10 taels of silver, unachieved. The requirements of Su Nu Secret Dao Jing are relatively strict, and there are no conditions for committing crimes for the time being, so let's not consider it for now. Because of the overall improvement of the body, the entry requirements for practicing Qi Ju have been reduced by half. With a little effort, it will take less than 2 months. Only 50 days of diligent practice. This condition is a bit difficult. In the past few days, Liu Chen has actually tried every day, but because of not enough diligence, it is only counted as a day's progress. It seems that he still needs to work hard. Strive to meet the requirements every day. As for Ji hand, Liu Chen has no appetite. An ordinary palm technique that does not enter the ranks will not improve him too much, so let it be. Immortal Changchun Gong. Practice Qi Ju. These 2 subjects can be regarded as Liu Chen's next 2 main directions of attack. After making up his mind, he began to sort out all his worth. 1 in Changchun. 100 caddies of black pork. 14 pieces of chicken and duck. 2 chicks. Silver 5 taels. 21 grains of spiritual sand. A magic weapon, a mahogany sword, a token, and a letter. Oh, it's not enough to upgrade for now. Now that he has the strength to barely protect himself, and he has the breath of pure yang that specializes in suppressing ghosts and evil spirits, and he also knows the black hand behind it, it can be said that he is finally relieved. Next, there is no need to worry. Wash up. It's past midnight, and it's almost 4 o'clock, he doesn't think about anything else, he just lies on the bed and sleeps first. Sleep till dawn. When he got up the next day, Liu Chen put on a simple Taoist robe, with a dagger on his waist, a mahogany sword wrapped in cloth, and something on his back, and opened the gate for the first time. Squeak! There was a groan from the old wooden door, and Liu Chen staggered out of the Taoist temple. Look back. On the mottled gate, there is a long plaque hanging obliquely, with the word Chungguan written on it, which makes people think about it. As for the first word long, it has long disappeared. The law and the law can't be used, and the emptiness is not empty useful while useless, useless meritorious deeds quiet and silent are the same, dreams never said dreams if it is ripe and naturally red, don't ask how to cultivate it. Liu Chen hummed an awkward rhyme, walked through the streets and alleys, all the way to the market. Long time no see, little Taoist. Morning layman. Little Taoist priest, where's your master? I haven't seen you for a few days. The master is retreating, and there are no outsiders. Leaving the remote northeast corner, I met more and more pedestrians. From time to time, some acquaintances greeted Liu Chen, and Liu Chen stopped to return the greetings from time to time. The disaster a few days ago seemed to have gone away. After a long time, finally came to the lively market. He found an open space, put down the things he was carrying, arranged them neatly, sat down on the ground, and waited silently. Little Taoist, how did you sell this chicken? 50 copper coins each. Yo, it's so expensive. Old hens that have been raised for several years, men eat them to strengthen their bodies, women eat them like flowers and jade. Auntie, if you eat them, you will at least be 3 or 5 years younger, no loss. Look at your little mouth, okay, Auntie bought it. Auntie is proud. Yes, Liu Chen is selling chicken, duck and pork. It has been delayed for a few days, and he can't finish it. If he puts it down again, it will be ruined. Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com is pure waste. I have also done this kind of business, and I can't do without firewood, rice, oil and salt. Ordinary pyrotechnics are the most comforting. Cultivation is the same as ordinary people, this is the life of low-level monks. There is no shame in selling chickens. More than half an hour passed, and most of the chickens and ducks had been sold. At this time, a woman appeared on the street, attracting many people's attention. The woman came slowly. Mature and charming. Front convex, back warped. Graceful posture. There is a gold ornament with a crested head on her head, a snow-white fox fur on her shoulders, a mandarin duck silk handkerchief in her slender hands, and a tight grip on her small waist. Her bare hands seem to have no bones. She has a charming face and a romantic figure. The woman came with a burst of fragrance, saluted Liu Shen Ying, and said softly, "Little Taoist priest, where's your master?" Female. Is there something wrong with the layman? My family Ying has been lost for 2 days. I would like to offer 5 taels of silver. Can your master help find it? Who is Ying? My little fox. Sorry, the master is in retreat and cannot see guests. Okay, then the woman left disappointed. Liu Chen's eyes widened, staring at the graceful back of the other party. The fragrance remained, staggering until he disappeared. His master was able to save dozens of grains of spiritual sand, all relying on a craft, circle light technique. That circle light technique is the most convenient for tracking and tracing. It can be used in many places. In his spare time, he also takes on small jobs, 5 taels of silver each time, which is worth his master's operation once. Unfortunately, he hasn't learned it yet, so he can only sell chickens. However, this woman is different. Big problem. Because when she walks, her feet don't touch the ground. Liu Chen has a lot of strength, his body has broken through a certain limit, and he has steadily stepped into the first-order threshold, and he has improved in all directions. His eyesight is excellent, and he found that when the woman was walking, there was a very small distance between the soles of the shoes and the ground. Feet do not get dusty. Demons and ghosts? Or monks? Or, was it simply sent by the great monk Yuan Zhen? Beauty trick. In an instant, Liu Chen thought of a lot. Seeing that there are still many people around who have not recovered from their fascination, they quickly grabbed a bearded man and asked, "Brother, do you want to know something?" Mud Plays Kai. The big man looked impatient, and wanted to reach out to push Liu Chen away, but found that the little Taoist priest who was half a head shorter than him was not moving at all, and his face suddenly panicked. You ask? Who was that beautiful woman just now, and where did she come from?" The big man breathed a sigh of relief, and quickly replied, "She, from the Red Mansion." "Red Mansion? Where is that?" Liu Chen frowned slightly, even more puzzled. At this time, a woman walked by, pursed her lips and chuckled lightly, "You little Taoist is really innocent, you don't even know the Red Building, where else can it be, isn't it the only brothel in Fengxian town? A bunch of shameless women." "Brothel?" Liu Chen opened his mouth and muttered, "Warren." The woman had gone away, and the big man replied, "Old, madam. The bustard." Liu Chen's eyes widened, with a look of disbelief. After some questioning, Liu Chen found out the exact identity of the other party. The old bustard of the Red Mansion court was named Zhang Hongyi, a top quality who made men fear and women envied. Men are afraid. It is because as long as you offend her, you will never be able to enter the Red Mansion court again. Women are jealous because she is so beautiful that even women feel ashamed of themselves. It was because Liu Chen was still young that he had never heard of the other party's name. "Zhang Hongyi, I'm afraid this woman is not simple." Liu Chen breathed a sigh of relief. No matter how simple or not, as long as he is not with the great monk Yuan Zhen, it is a good thing. All morning, Liu Chen sold everything, and exchanged for 6 taels of silver and 72 copper coins. In this way, he barely made up for the upgrade of Kaijiapa's hand, and drank a meal of mutton noodle soup at the market. After wandering for a while, I returned to Changchun Temple. Afternoon. Liu Chen took off the plaque on the door, traced the word long with charcoal, and then hung it up with satisfaction. Afterwards, he practiced Kaijiapa's hands. While practicing the Changchun Kung Fu of Immortality. The Changchun Kung Fu of Immortality has undergone transformation. The core is actually a set of dynamic exercises, which require the coordination of breathing, movement, and thoughts, and they are indispensable. Only in this way can the body be tempered and the muscles and bones be strengthened. Simply Liu Chen is a direct entry. The most difficult step was effortless for him. The sun was setting. Liu Chen was concentrating on practicing the Kaijiapa hand, and he could almost see after images between his palms. This Kaijiapa hand is a continuous palm technique, and the focus is on hitting fast. In the end, it was like 100 palms coming out together. When the sun was setting, Liu Chen put away his palms and grinned, "It can be upgraded again." Conditions for upgrading Kaijiapa hand: 1. Half a day of palm training, achieved. 2. 10 taels of silver, achieved. Name: Liu Chen Palm. Kaijiapa's hands are not yet started, can be upgraded. Plus. Upgrade. Compared with last night's promotion of the immortal Changchun Kung Fu, the introduction of Kaijiapa's hand seems to be without any waves. If he hadn't really deepened his understanding of Kaijiapa's hand in his mind, he would have suspected that he was deceived by monk Huineng and practiced fake kung fu. Kaijiapa hands. Talk is better than nothing. Liu Chen sighed, but as Kaijiapa practiced more and more, I believe it would have some effect in the future. Expand. Stretching out the light curtain, a few lines of data stretched out. Conditions for upgrading Kaijiapa hand: 1. 1 day of palm training, unachieved. 2. A soul essence, unachieved. 3. 10 taels of silver, unachieved. Need the spirit. Liu Chen muttered, and looked at the 2 chickens in the chicken pen, showing a gentle smile like a big devil, and just pulled out the short knife. Bang bang bang. There was a sudden knock on the door, and a shout came from outside the door, "Officials of the Zhenbing Mansion, open the door quickly." Zhenbing Mansion. Liu Chen paused slightly, showing hesitation. This town military mansion is a violent institution, and its actions have always been strong. It can be regarded as the master of more than 50,000 people in Fengxian town. As for why? Because of his hard fist, he controlled the 2,500 soldiers in the town barracks. These town soldiers are not soft-legged shrimp. They cultivated the general Sha one by one, gathered the soldiers through fighting, and used the soldiers to build up their bodies, and their strength improved very quickly. Each of them was like a calf. Temper is foul and hard. Although Kuchen Temple is very powerful, it is actually like a little sheep in front of Zhenbing Mansion. However, they also have flaws. Anyone who cultivates General Sha will not only fail to increase their lifespan, but will also shorten their lifespan. In old age, their strength will usually be greatly reduced. In addition, after practicing General Sha, the body will be like a sieve, leaking air everywhere. It is no longer possible to practice Qi and cultivate immortality. Bang bang bang! It is estimated that the Zhenbing Mansion has heard the news of my appearance, and there is no way to hide. Let's meet. After thinking about it for a while, Liu Chen felt that it was time to meet up. After all, he didn't do anything wrong except for hurting the little cutie. Squeak, putting down the dagger, Liu Chen opened the viewing door. Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com. Two little giants nearly 2 meters tall came into view, like door gods, one on the left and one on the right, both wearing dark brown armor, with a long shoulder-length knife. One of the town soldiers said with a straight face, "Little Taoist priest, come with us." What happened? Liu Chen was startled, almost turned around and ran away, and asked quickly, "What's up?" "About your master." "My master? My master is in retreat, and there are no outsiders." Half a foot of white air came out of the town soldier's nostrils. He snorted coldly, and said speechlessly, "Everyone is dead, so why close the door?" "Died? Oh, it does seem to be dead. This town's military mansion is in charge of Fengxian town, and the news is indeed well informed." Liu Chen was still a little worried, and asked again, "Master Bing, what's the matter? Give me some information." "Good thing." "What good thing?" "Your master is in the name of enshrinement in Zhenbing Mansion, you know that?" "Know some." Liu Chen nodded. Taoist King Yun would go to Zhenbing Mansion every now and then because of his knowledge of circle light art. Most of the peachwood swords he could buy were from Zhenbing. What to do, but never told him, "Your master has made a contribution to blocking Taoist Wu this time, and the superior is going to let you inherit his enshrined position." Liu Chen was a little ashamed. The robbers attacked from the northeast and ran into the small Changchun temple hidden. His master Taoist King Yun tried his best to save the original owner, but he still lost to Taoist Wu and was killed in 3 strokes. Is this considered meritorious service? For this, Liu Chen felt a little guilty. Seeing that Zhenbing didn't seem to be lying, Liu Chen didn't ask any more questions. Bringing his belongings, he followed the 2 town soldiers to the town soldiers' mansion, crossed the streets and alleys, and soon came to the center of Fengxian town, in front of a magnificent mansion. There are 3 gilt characters written on the door plaque, Zhenbing Mansion. It was getting late at this time, and there were still 4 town soldiers in armor guarding the door. In front of the door lay 2 stone tigers, with 2 blazing braziers on their heads. The guards checked the token. Liu Chen looked around, followed the 2 guards, and walked into the town's mansion. The cornices are warped. Red walls and blue tiles. Inside the Zhenbing Mansion, the atmosphere is tense. There were burning torches everywhere, bright as day. The 3 of them walked slowly all the way, and soon came to a school field. The 2 town soldiers left Liu Chen without saying a word. There is a round table on the school grounds, and several people are pushing glasses and changing glasses. Seeing Liu Chen approaching, a young man immediately got up and greeted him. He was dressed in ordinary clothes, unlike the people in the Zhenbing Mansion. He looked Liu Chen up and down, and asked frivolously, you are old man King Yun's apprentice. Okay. Liu Chen frowned slightly, displeased in his heart, but he was new here after all, and it was not easy to get angry, so he just nodded in a muffled voice. The man stretched out his hand and ordered, "You hand over the circular light technique, and people can leave." Oh, Liu Chen sneered and asked back, "You are the town lord?" "No." The young man shook his head impatiently. "Are you the general?" "No." "Are you Chief Ji?" "Are you the captain?" 10 people form an army, 100 people form an army, 1,000 people join forces, and 10,000 people become a general. Although Liu Chen is not clear about the specific positions in the Zhenbing mansion, he still has some basic knowledge of the Daihao dynasty. The young man's face was livid. I was speechless. Liu Chen didn't say any more, bypassed the other party, and came to the round table. Without stage fright, he smiled and cupped his fists. "Xiaodao Liu Chen, I have just arrived here, and I have met all the seniors." In addition to the young man, there were 3 other people sitting at the round table. One of them was over 100 years old, with a long-sleeved gown and fluttering beard and hair. He looked like a fairy. With a flick of his whisk, he made a speech. "Chu Daizai, the poor Taoist, the villain just said nothing, don't blame the little fellow Daoist." It's okay, it's okay." Liu Chen laughed. It turned out that Chu Daizai and that young man were a pair of mentors and apprentices, and he knew their identities well. Most of these people were enshrined in the Zhenbing mansion just like his master King Yun Taoist. There are 2 people left. One is an old monk with a grey beard, and the other is a little bald head with withered eyebrows. They should also be a pair of master and apprentice. The little bald head looks 8 or 9 years old, ignores Liu Chen, and concentrates on picking a few peanuts on the table. It's also cute to be silly and silly. The old monk stared at Liu Chen without saying a word. Liu Chen felt a little hairy. After a long time, he clasped his hands together and said, "Amitabha, the little benefactor is very murderous." Liu Chen's heart shuddered, and he pretended to be stupid and said, "What's your name, senior?" The poor monk Kuchansi Benming. Fu's Heiza felt that the original wisdom increased. "Zhou Hung Pu Guangzong, Dayaking Tong Suanzu." This is what Liu Chen learned about the seniority of Kuchan Temple from monk Huaneng. This old monk is called Benming, and he is a generation higher than the great monk Yuan Zhen. Most of them are Qi training masters. Liu Chen's eyes flickered, and he said bluntly, "What did senior mean?" The old monk Benming lowered his eyebrows and did not answer. Chu Daizai, who was beside him, smiled and said, "This old monk likes to play tricks. You don't know, but he has a pair of spiritual eyes, which can distinguish turbidity and ghosts. Since he said you have killing, these few days, you should have started the killing ring." "Killing ring? Oh, yesterday a pig was slaughtered, and a dozen chickens and ducks were killed. That's no wonder." The 2 of you said something to each other, which made Liu Chen relax. Soon, the wine and dishes were removed, and a maid came forward with a wooden tray, lifted the brocade, and there were 4 porcelain vases under it, which were placed in front of everyone in order, except for the young man. Even Liu Chen and the little bald head have one. Liu Chen took the porcelain bottle in his hand, uncorked the bottle, and saw that there were 20 colorful little cuties lying in it, which were spirit sand. This. Liu Chen was a little hesitant. As soon as he came up, he gave spiritual sand, and there were 20 grains, so he wouldn't want to sell himself, would he? The young man's face was ugly. He pointed at Liu Chen, and said indignantly, "Why does he have spiritual sand?" At this time, a cold voice sounded from behind. "Because he deserves it." Everyone quickly got up and saluted the visitor. "Meet the general." Liu Chen also stood up and looked back quietly. I saw a figure wearing silver-white armor striding forward. The person who came was wearing a white tasseled helmet on his head, a long sword on his waist, handsome eyebrows and star eyes, heroic and extraordinary, and, Unexpectedly, it was a woman. It's really valiant and heroic. She walked to the front, glanced at the crowd, and said directly, 7 days ago, the general personally led the town soldiers to exterminate the robbers, but Wu Daoist took advantage of the vacancy and entered Fengxian town. Fortunately, I returned in time to help, so I didn't make a big mistake. You know. How did I get back in time? She nodded slightly to Liu Chen, and said to herself, it's Daoist King Yun. He sent the message talisman in time. Otherwise, the entire Fengxian town will be robbed. With this great achievement, he is already dead. His only heir, why can't our Zhenbing mansion treat him favorably? The young man was speechless. Even Chu Daizai and the old monk Benming lowered their heads in shame. You must know that when Fengxian town was breached, they were thinking about how to save their lives. Liu Chen straightened his chest, well, this time he is not guilty. Liu Chen successfully became the enshrinement of the Zhenbing mansion, one of the 4 major offerings of Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com. He can get 10 grains of spiritual sand every month, and the eligibility to exchange for the Zhenbing mansion, and there are additional rewards when there are missions. And you don't have to stay in Zhenbing mansion every day, it's quite free. The other 3 enshrined are the great master Benming of the Kuchen temple, Chu Daizai, a loose cultivator, and the 9-year-old Huang Meyer, a disciple of the great master Benming. This yellow eyebrow is amazing. Born with the talent King Kong, when he was 5 or 6 years old, he could tear tigers and leopards apart. Today's words are even more unfathomable. In addition, Liu Chen also knew the identity of the female general. She was the daughter of Fang Hong, the town lord of Fengxian town. Her name was Fang Yuki, and she was said to have the talent sword show. His sword skills are extraordinary and refined. It was already midnight when Liu Chen returned to Changchun Temple. After he had worked so hard to practice the Qi training method 50 days of diligent practice, it was already past midnight. He was lying on the bed, but he was tossing and turning all the time, unable to sleep, and the thoughts kept appearing in his mind. What I saw and heard today. Zhang Hongyi is convex and warped. Fang Yuki is heroic and valiant. Chu Daizai. Master Benming who has spiritual eyes. Silly yellow eyebrows. King Kong and sword show. And that ridiculous young man. I don't know how long it took before he fell into a deep sleep. In his sleep, Liu Chen felt a pair of small hands groping around his body, which was comfortable and refreshing. He opened his eyes in a daze, and saw a charming woman lying on top of him. Dawdling back and forth. Front convex, back warped. Naked. Beads are round and jade run. Liu Chen's eyes widened, he straightened up, and almost spat out a mouthful of blood. This person turned out to be Zhang Hongyi, who was protruding and slanting, with a seductive and coquettish body. Is it a dream? Liu Chen was short of breath, and Zhang Hongyi on her body twisted wildly. She lay on Liu Chen's body and bit back and forth. She opened her mouth to bite Liu Chen's mouth, and Liu Chen blinked. Zhang Hongyi suddenly turned into Fang Yuki. Chun's yang floats. Ying Ying grasped it. At this time, a strong suction force suddenly came from the opponent's mouth, and Liu Chen's blood pulsed violently in an instant. The blood in his whole body seemed to be boiling, and he wanted to spurt out from his mouth. No. Liu Chen finally realized what was wrong and wanted to break free, but Fang Yuki bit his mouth tightly. Never letting go, sucking crazily. Here you. Liu Chen gritted his teeth, and could no longer feel the slightest ripple. He suddenly vomited out a mouthful of pure yang breath, which went straight into the opponent's mouth. Ah! The other party screamed, and flew out of Liu Chen's body, showing its original shape in midair, and turned into a twisted black shadow. The black shadow had hands and feet, faceless and eyesless. It opened its mouth wide and let out a mournful wail. There were fiery red cracks all over his body. It seemed that lava was about to spew out. Then there was a bang, and it exploded to pieces. Ho Liu Chen gasped for breath, opened his mouth and inhaled. The breath of pure yang came back into his mouth, but only half of it was left. It was a pity before it was too late, only to see a glowing figure condensed in the midair. She is a pretty nun. With tears on her face, she cried and laughed. She bowed to Liu Shenying, opened her mouth to say something, but no sound came out, and it turned into light rain in the blink of an eye. Fade away. It's Yinhun again. Yuan Zhen really deserves to die. Liu Chen gritted his teeth, feeling angry and afraid. If he hadn't practiced Changchun Kung Fu and had a strong control over his body, when this ghost took the first bite, he would have left his body with all his blood. Completely turned into a mummy. It's too dangerous. Too terrifying. Looking back now, I am still terrified. But the previous feeling seemed to be quite cool. Liu Chen couldn't help recalling the scene just now. Zhang Hongyi, Fang Yuqi, one protruding forward and backward, the other wanting to refuse but still welcoming. He was a little confused for a moment. He touched his mouth, and found that the sides of his mouth were full of blood, and his lower lip was covered with blood. The ghost bit it. Fortunately, the injury was not serious. Picking up the herbal tea on the table and rinsing his mouth, Liu Chen muttered indignantly, "My first kiss is gone." Thinking of that ghost, Liu Chen felt bad. That pretty nun was also a victim. She must have been cast by Yuan Zhen with a sorcery Yinhun Bao, trying to make a ghost. Fortunately, he killed it with a breath of pure yang. Took it. It can also be regarded as helping him to escape. And he didn't have nothing to gain. He stretched out his hand and touched the light curtain in front of him. Expand. Conditions for Immortal Eternal Spring Skill Upgrade. 1. Practice for 3 days, 1/3 not achieved. 2. 3 dead souls, 2/3 not achieved. 3. 10 grains of spiritual sand, completed. Killing a ghost just now is considered a dead soul. In this way, 2 of the 3 most difficult dead souls have been completed. As long as you work harder, you can upgrade again soon. Upgrade as soon as possible, and then solve Yuanzhen's serious trouble. Having made up his mind, Liu Chen lay down on the bed and continued to sleep, in a trance, for a long time, before falling into a deep sleep. Yesterday was the 5th year of Emperor Kong of the Daihao dynasty. Late November. Today is the penultimate day of November. The weather is extremely gloomy, and there is a lot of rain falling from the sky. Liu Chen got up early in the morning, practiced the Changchun Kung Fu and Kaijiapa hands a few times, and planned to go out for breakfast. Squeak! Just when he opened the door, Liu Chen was startled. I saw a person standing outside the door, protruding forward and backward. Sudaji. No, Zhang Hongyi. The other party was like a beautiful lady, holding a red paper umbrella in her slender hands and holding a white fur fox in her arms. It seems to come from a famous painting. Beautiful figure. The face is charming. Liu Chen suddenly remembered what happened last night. A gust of wind blew, shivering, subconsciously took 2 steps back, and said, Are you a human or a ghost? Zhang Hongyi pursed her lips and smiled lightly, twitched her eyebrows a few times, hugged the fox in her arms and turned around, with the corners of her skirt flying and spring waves rippling. She said playfully, "What do you think? It's fine if it's not a ghost." Liu Chen heaved a sigh of relief, saw the shadow under the opponent's feet, and asked again, "Is there something wrong with the Lady Lei?" Zhang Hongyi snorted lightly, and said meaningfully, "I heard that your master died in closed door." Thinking of yesterday's retreat, Liu Chen was a little embarrassed, and said cheekily, "Yes." The other party smiled charmingly, and asked directly, "Is your circle light technique sold?" Sword control technique is a first-level ordinary spell, while circle light technique is an authentic level spell, and only the Su Nu secret Daojing is comparable to it. Liu Chen didn't want to sell it, but he didn't talk about it. Perfunctory road, it can be sold, but, very expensive. Okay, come to the Red Chamber tonight, let's discuss it. After Zhang Hongyi finished speaking, she didn't talk nonsense. Holding a red paper umbrella, she turned around and walked back and forth, swaying gracefully in lotus steps. Liu Chen took the opportunity to widen his eyes, stared at the opponent's feet, and let out a long breath. Sure enough, still not touching the ground. Zhang Hongyi seemed to have sensed something, turned around suddenly, smiled charmingly at Liu Chen, and said softly, "Little Taoist priest, the slave family is waiting for you on the third floor of the Red Mansion garden. See you at night at this time." Two passers-by happened to pass by, and their eyes widened after hearing the words. When they looked at Liu Chen, they looked incredulous, and then showed meaningful expressions. "This goblin!" Liu Chen muttered, and quickly closed the door. After waiting for a long time, he left the Taoist temple in a hurry and ate 2 bowls of noodle soup on the street. Since he started to practice Immortal Changchun Kung Fu, he felt that his appetite had increased a lot. 2 bowls of noodle soup are enough to fill me up. Boom boom boom. Just returned to Changchun Temple, there was a knock on the door of the temple. "Who is it?" "Brother Taoist, letter, your letter." Squeak. Liu Chen opened the courtyard door, and saw a pretty little girl standing outside the door. She was not yet 10 years old, she was thin and small, and she was wearing a patched gown. Because the hem of the clothes is too long, it has been stained with black dirt. Because it was raining lightly. A pair of small faces that have not yet opened are wet, and the ponytail on the back is also covered with water droplets. Looking at the little girl, Liu Chen vaguely remembered the identity of the other party. He was his neighbor. His surname was Meng, but his specific name was unclear. There was a nickname that seemed to be Yayao. Her father was a bookworm, her mother died early, and her family was quite poor. The northeast corner of Fengxian town is relatively remote. The houses are not next to each other. It is said that they are neighbors, but in fact they are not close. The other party lives on the street, and the two sides are separated by hundreds of meters. Liu Chen took the letter and said doubtfully, "Who sent the letter?" The little girl thought about it, and Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com said crisply, "A person wearing a bamboo hat, strong and strong." "Oh." Liu Chen nodded, not in a hurry to read the letter, and asked again, "Why are you wearing your father's gown?" The little girl's expression was a little downcast. She lifted the corner of her clothes, and said, "Daddy is dead." Liu Chen was taken aback for a moment, and understood that the bookworm was probably killed by the robbers who broke the city. He pulled the little girl to the eaves, wiped her little face with his sleeve robe, and said softly, "Is there anyone else at home?" "And Grandpa?" Liu Chen was relieved when he heard the words, but it seemed that this grandpa didn't seem to be able to take care of others. He took the scissors from the temple, cut the little girl's gown short, put the scissors down, and rubbed his empty hands, showed it to the little girl, and said with a smile, "Look, there's nothing there." The little girl nodded timidly, not knowing why. Liu Chen rubbed his hands again, opened it suddenly, and saw a handful of scattered copper coins in his palm. The little girl's eyes widened and she looked around curiously. Liu Chen said, "For you." The little girl hurriedly took 2 steps back, timidly, not daring to answer. "Take it, since you called me Brother Dao Kang, this is a meeting gift for you. You can come to Changchun to visit me in the future if you have anything to do." "Oh, thank you Dao Kang brother." Watching the little girl bouncing away, Liu Chen smiled, opened the letter, and saw a line of small characters written on the paper, "On the 2nd floor of Ziwixiang building, let's talk. Yuan Zhen." Although there was no signature and no logo, Liu Chen was the first to think of the great monk Yuan Zhen. Ziwixianglo is the property of Zhenbing Mansion, and it is also the largest restaurant in Fengxian town. No one dares to kill people there. Yuan Zhen chose Ziwixianglo as the meeting place, which seemed to be in consideration of Liu Chen's thoughts. But the other party is a dignified monk, is he really willing to sit down and discuss with him? Liu Chen looked thoughtful. Then I left Changchun Temple, locked the door of the temple, and left quickly. Not long after Liu Chen left, a chunky figure wearing a bamboo hat appeared outside the Changchun Temple. Seeing no one around, he stepped on the wall and jumped over the Tumaturai courtyard wall. Standing in the Changchun Temple, the man in the bamboo hat smiled triumphantly and said, "It's just a child with a yellow mouth, a certain one just made a small plan, and he was brushed around, haha." As he spoke, he quickly ran towards the houses. Kick open the door. Search around. Corner, under bed, kitchen, bedroom, utility room. But always get nothing. No, no. Could it be? Did you put it all on your body? Damn it! The man cursed and his face was extremely ugly. He was about to leave when he suddenly found a figure in the Taoist temple. He was startled, saw the person coming, and stammered, "You, how did you come back so soon?" Oh, Liu Chen sneered and asked back, "What are you looking for?" "Find." The man immediately shut up, pressed down the bamboo hat he was wearing, and said suspiciously, just yourself. There's still one." "Who?" The man immediately became alert and looked around, as if he was about to run away at any moment. Liu Chen grinned, "Huineng. Junior brother? Isn't he dead?" The man exclaimed, immediately covered his mouth, gritted his teeth and said, You say something. Sure enough, it's not Yuan Zhen." Liu Chen's tense body finally relaxed, stomped the dirt under Dou's feet, and said with a smile, "Do you know where your junior brother is?" "It's right under my feet. Don't worry, you will be reunited with him soon." Knowing that his identity had been found out, the man threw aside the bamboo hat he was wearing, revealing a big bald head. This was a short and stocky monk with a hideous scar on his forehead and a vicious look. He held the 1-foot-long Ji-Dao at his waist, said viciously, "This is not Huineng with soft feet." As he said that, he stepped on the ground with both feet, stepped in front of Liu Chen in 2 steps, and pulled out the Ji-Dao suddenly. Kang Lang Ji-Dao was out of its sheath, and saw the light of the saber flash, and it slashed directly at Liu Chen's face. Drink boom! The two figures collided, Liu Chen took a step back, a wound was cut on his chest, the man stepped back 3 steps, and Liu Chen punched him in the shoulder. What a powerful sword technique! Liu Chen was on alert, feeling fearful for a while. This person was obviously weaker than him, but this saber technique was too fierce, and there was an illusion that he could not avoid it. The man stared at Liu Chen, and opened his mouth to spit out a mouthful of blood. He changed the knife from his right hand to his left, and walked slowly around Liu Chen. The two faced each other for a few breaths, and the man yelled, "Eat another knife!" Liu Chen's heart trembled, and he saw that the other party suddenly threw the Ji-Dao, turned around and rushed towards the high wall. Base! Ji-Dao flew past Liu Chen's ear and stuck on the ground. Liu Chen came to his senses and chased after the opponent with big strides. Seeing that the opponent was about to climb out of the courtyard wall, he took 2 quick steps and grabbed the opponent's ankle. Release! The man panicked and kicked Liu Chen's head in a hurry. Return! Liu Chen roared angrily, pulled hard, the top of the wall was grabbed by that person, and hit the ground with a bang, and then punched the opponent's chest, sending him flying for several meters. Then he caught up with him in 2 steps and raised his foot to step on the opponent's forehead. The man almost lost his breath, his face flushed red, he knelt down on the ground with a plop, hugged his head and said, "Okay, good man, spare your life." Humph! Seeing this, Liu Chen snorted coldly, stepped on the opponent's thick neck with a 3-point reduction in his feet. The other party rolled his eyes and finally passed out. "It's dangerous." Liu Chen breathed a sigh of relief, thinking about the knife just now, he was still afraid, he quickly found a rope, tied the opponent into a twist, and then looked at the wound on his chest. I saw the clothes were torn. A wound half an inch deep and half a foot long opened half of the right chest from top to bottom. The upper body was already dripping with blood. Fortunately, no bones were injured, so it was not considered a serious injury. It hurts. Liu Chen bared his teeth in pain, quickly called for water, found cotton cloth, and carefully bandaged it. The monk woke up leisurely, and when he opened his eyes, he saw that he was tied to the chair, unable to use any force, unable to move, while Liu Chen was holding his saber, gesturing back and forth on him. His body trembled, almost peeing in fear, and hurriedly begging for mercy said, "Hero benefactor grandfather, forgive me." Liu Chen felt contemptuous in his heart. He thought he was a tough guy before, but he didn't expect that he was far worse than Huaneng. He glanced at him, but didn't withdraw his knife, and said coldly, "I ask, you answer. If you make a mistake, you will stamp a leg. You ask, you ask." The monk was almost frightened to death, so there was no such thing as a fierce look. Name: Hui Sheng. Age: 3, 32 years old. Identity: Ku Chan's other courtyard. Hughes Hung, 32 years old, entered the monastery 8 years ago, served as a guest monk in Kuchan's other courtyard, and was a confidant of the great monk Yuan Zhen. I have learned a first-level common-level method Yujin forging body kung fu and Vajra fist, as well as an unadulterated authentic level sword technique Ji Dao, with a body strength of nearly 700 katis, which is only one step away from the level of a great monk. Liu Chen didn't even need to be punished. Hughes Hung hurriedly revealed all 3 methods. The only pity is that Yujin exercise Hughes Hung didn't know everything, and he didn't know the key to breaking through the first level. According to him, with the help of Yuan Zhen, he only tried to break through once. It's a pity that it failed in the end, and it left a dark wound because of it. After Liu Chen confirmed that the other party did not lie. Heartbroken. Sigh. The only thing missing is the last few tricks, and this method that is at the same level as Eternal Spring Art of Immortality was not included. Presumably, this is also the backhand of Kuchan Temple's preparations to prevent the core method from leaking out. What a pity! What a pity! Although he doesn't necessarily practice it, it can be used for comprehension. No matter how bad it is, he can also integrate it when he advances to Chongchun Kung Fu. Alas, it seems that he still needs to work hard. Fortunately, there is also an authentic grade Ji Dao as compensation. It can be considered a small gain. Not only that, but he also learned some secrets about monk Yuan Zhen from the other party. Hui Sheng's mouth was dry when he said it, and he stared at Liu Chen with a pair of bull's eyes, fearing to kill him. Seeing Liu Chen get up, he immediately became nervous. Pity. Liu Chen let out a sigh of relief. Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com turned around, stretched out his hand and opened the door of the right wing. Just as Hughes Hung was overjoyed, he saw Liu Chen suddenly turn around and fling out the jidao in his hand. Pfft! Right between the eyebrows. Yu. Hughes Hung uttered a few words with difficulty, tilted his head, and died on the spot. Hughes Hung did not rest in peace. A word appeared on his forehead, and his mouth began to grow bigger and bigger. Ghost report. Still coming. Liu Chen sneered, grabbed Hui Sheng's body, together with the chair, and threw it into the yard with his hands. At this time, it happened to be noon. Under the blazing sun, the ghost retribution was completely scorched by the sun before it took shape. The souls of the dead are complete. Hey, I can upgrade again tomorrow. Liu Chen was overjoyed at the thought of upgrading the immortal Chongchun Kung Fu. He looked at the light curtain in front of him, stretched out his hand and tapped lightly, expand. Ji Dao upgrade conditions: 1. 1 day of sword practice, unachieved. 2. 20 taels of silver, unachieved. As expected of authentic grade, the entry requirements are double that of the normal grade. Liu Chen was a little discouraged. One day of sword practice was easy to achieve, but 20 taels of silver stumped him. He had 41 grains of spiritual sand, but only 1 tael of silver was left. One word, so poor. The sun was setting. There are fewer and fewer pedestrians. Wearing Taoist robes, Liu Chen wandered at the intersection, looking at the brightly lit attic not far away, feeling a little nervous. It was the first time for the eldest girl to get on the bridal sedan chair, so she couldn't be nervous. After hesitating for a moment, he gritted his teeth and stomped his feet. I'm going all out. The Red Mansion court is divided into 3 floors. The first floor is a talent show, the second floor is a talent show for a couple, and the third floor is where the Warren and the procuress Zhang Hongyi live, where men usually stop. The Warren here is different from other places. There is no talk about accompanying guests and first nights. It seems that the purpose of existence, apart from performing talents, is to simply find a good husband for himself, and then let Zhang Hongyi match, and the lovers will eventually get married. This approach was naturally criticized at the beginning. Over time, also get used to it. Therefore, people who come and go to the Red Mansion court not only do it for pure fun, but also many people fantasize about finding an Warren to be their wife. At this time, on the first floor of the Red Mansion garden, there was a lot of voices. I heard that a little Taoist priest wants to go up to the 3rd floor. I don't agree, sir, I firmly disagree. A Taoist priest is not pure-hearted, so Xiaoxian asked, why should he compete with the uncle for Miss Yi? Dare to come, hit, kill him. Red lacquer wall. Hanging eaves, flying corners. Beautiful and picturesque, antique. There was a constant flow of people in the Red Mansion garden. Liu Chen stepped up the 29 stone steps in front of the door and walked towards the door step by step. After stepping in, he saw a pretty girl in her teens pacing anxiously. The Taoist robe on Liu Chen's body, his eyes lit up, and he hurried up to meet him. Neither speak. Holding Liu Chen's hand, he quickly walked towards the corner door beside him. Liu Chen said in surprise, "Girl, what are you?" "The servant girl is my mother's servant girl. You can call your servant girl Qinghe. The young master came late, and my mother was anxiously waiting upstairs. I have already urged you several times." "That's it." Just as Liu Chen was relieved, he saw Qinghe reaching out to pick off the Taoist robe on his body, a pair of small hands stroking his body, itching. Liu Chen was taken aback. "Miss Qinghe, please, respect yourself." The little girl smiled mischievously and explained, "My lord, please don't misunderstand. The guests on the first floor learned that someone went up to the 3rd floor tonight, and they thought that someone was in the eyes of Sister Yi. Mom was afraid that you would be beaten to death, so she specially told the servant to help you. Change your clothes." Liu Chen was inexplicably a little disappointed, and muttered, "Then, there is no need to change the underwear." The little girl rolled her beautiful eyes, moved her hands up and down, and quickly took off Liu Chen's Taoist robe, and put on a light blue gown. She smoothed the wrinkles on Liu Chen's body, looked around Liu Chen several times, and blinked her big beautiful eyes, covering his mouth and chuckling lightly, "Not bad. Not only is it not bad, Liu Chen has just turned 16, and his stature is already close to that of an adult. And because he practiced the immortal Changchun Kung Fu, his muscles were well proportioned, his limbs were slender and powerful, and he suddenly changed into a decent new clothes, even a little amazing. It would not be an exaggeration to call him a handsome man." Qinghe didn't delay any longer, and led Liu Chen into the lobby on the 1st floor. In the center of the hall, there is a round platform with beauties dancing on it, accompanied by the sound of silk and bamboo dancing. The surroundings are filled with all kinds of teaching and learning. There are also old men who are shameless. Holding down the wine, his obscene eyes kept resting on the beauty's plump breasts. Even stranger. There were even a few bald-headed monks, chanting scriptures in their mouths, aiming at the beauty, and chanting, "Emptiness is form, form is emptiness." Many people even looked at the entrance from time to time, as if, as soon as they saw a person wearing a Taoist robe appearing, they would violently attack. For this reason, several decent Taoists had already been beaten and fled. Liu Chen sighed, "The red dust is rolling, the secular world is noisy, you and I are all on the road of cultivation. Young master is gone." Seeing Liu Chen standing still, Qing He was worried about causing trouble, so she quickly grabbed Liu Chen's big hand and walked quickly along the aisle. From the first floor to the second floor, the voice of extravagance came faintly. The little girl blushed slightly, and pulled Liu Chen to hurry. Climbing up to the third floor from a hidden staircase, he breathed a sigh of relief and let go of Liu Chen's palm. Red glazed lamps hang high. Liu Chen saw a little white-haired fox rushing towards him. Just as he was about to squat down and pick it up, the little fox suddenly braked, aggressively, and bared its mouth. Yo. Not only did she not let her hug, but she also blocked Liu Chen's way forward. Qing He on the side hastily said, Ying, don't make trouble, it's my mother who asked him to come up. Yo, the little fox barked twice, and ran back angrily. Seeing Liu Chen's puzzled expression, the little girl explained, Ying is very sensitive to the smell of strangers. Men are usually not allowed to come up to the third floor. Oh. Liu Chen was thoughtful, wondering if this Zhang Hongyi was really a vixen, and he didn't know why the other party built the Red Mansion garden, and it was built near the Zhenbing Mansion. Obviously. This was the tacit approval of the Zhenbing Mansion. If this is the case, it should not be possible to commit murder and steal goods, but it is better to be careful. The little girl King He led Liu Chen through the third floor, and soon came to a spacious room. The little girl smiled playfully, and quietly retreated, leaving Liu Chen looking around alone. This room is larger and decorated very warmly. Carved beams and painted buildings. Bronze mirror and silver comb. The aroma of smoke curled up. The curtains are heavy. Liu Chen walked a few steps forward, and saw a screen placed further in. On the screen was a translucent ink painting, a woman was drinking wine against the moon, and a few lines of poems were written on it. Through the screen, one can vaguely see a bed behind, and a figure is lying on the bed. Curvy. Concave and concave. Liu Chen raised his eyebrows and boldly took a few steps forward. Yo. A few warnings from the little fox sounded from inside the screen. Liu Chen hurriedly stopped, and finally saw clearly the verses on the screen. Spirited deer chariot, happy Gui Luan and phoenix match, mandarin duck grave drinking wine and playing chess under the osmanthus tree, Tao is ruthless and the most affectionate, the world of mortals is gone, the lover is robbed flying into a butterfly, breaking into a circle sorrows and joys, held by the red thread. Sending the rest of the painting, Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com. Poetry expresses ambition. Hand in hand with the red thread. Liu Momo recited the verses on the painting, and with his self-sacrifice, he vaguely grasped Zhang Hongyi's true purpose of establishing the Red Mansion garden, and murmured, could it be, it's also for cultivation. You do have some knowledge. Zhao Hongyi got up on the bed, lazily stretched her graceful curves, put on a red gauze dress, showed her bare feet, walked around the screen, and appeared in front of Liu Chen, with a pair of seductive eyes, looked at Liu Chen up and down, slightly somewhat surprised. Beads are round and jade run. Protruding and warping, Zhang Hongyi. As soon as Liu Chen saw the other party, he remembered the ripples from last night, and his heart beat faster, especially the outfit in front of him, which could make people spurt blood, so he quickly looked away. Giggle Zhang Hongyi looked at the embarrassed little Taoist priest in front of her, and her body trembled while laughing, charming and charming, her smile suddenly changed, and she reprimanded, vulgar husband is darker than other things. Don't curse. Embracing her tender breasts, Zhang Hongyi snorted coldly, and said disdainfully, "It's hard to love a girl, the laws of nature are ordinary, why bother to be coquettish?" Liu Chen was embarrassed, knowing in his heart that the negotiation between the two parties had already begun, and if he could not suppress the other party, it would be difficult to take the initiative in the next negotiation, so he boldly retorted, "Anyone can speak big words. If it is true what your excellency said, Zhang Hongyi, the dignified old mother of the Red Mansion Garden, why, is still a perfect body. You. Zhang Hongyi was ashamed and annoyed, but she couldn't refute. His chest trembled with anger. Liu Chen was determined, the dog eyes trained in his previous life did not disappoint him. Humph! Zhang Hongyi stretched out her slender hand, and a 3-foot red silk appeared in her hand. With a light flick, the red silk was wrapped around Liu Chen's waist like a long snake. I understand in my heart. The red silk must be a magic weapon, this Zhang Hongyi is really not simple, she must be in the qi training state. But he was not afraid in his heart. This place is not far from the Zhenbing mansion. There is no reason to kill someone just because of a word, so he simply did not resist, and sneered, "Why, if you can't say it, you have to do it." Zhang Hongyi's face was frosty, and she didn't answer. The red gauze fluttered, she flew up, and with a flick of the red silk, she hung Liu Chen on the beam. Qing He outside heard the commotion, and ran in hastily. Seeing this scene, she was stunned, and quickly tried to persuade her, "What's the matter? The young master is a guest, mother, don't neglect him." "That's right, I'm a guest, don't let me down yet. Get out, it's none of your business here, I must teach this a lesson today." Snapped. As he said that, he flicked the other end of the red silk, and it fell firmly on Liu Chen's body. Liu Chen screamed, his head drooped, and he passed out. This. Zhang Hongyi's second whip had already been raised. Seeing this scene, she was stunned for a moment, neither beating nor taking it away, and muttered, "This kid is too useless, my old lady didn't even use it hard, so, this is it. Can't do it anymore." Yo-Yo the little fox squinted his big eyes and snickered under the screen. Qing He rolled her beautiful eyes, and complained, "My son is weak and weak, how can he stand up to the whip of my mother? Mother should let him down quickly, don't do anything wrong." All right. Zhang Hongyi smiled embarrassingly, the little bit of anger in her heart had already dissipated completely, she shook the red silk in her hand, and put Liu Chen on the ground. Just as the red silk was put away, Liu Chen suddenly opened his eyes and threw the other party to the ground. Crack yo-yo as the lingering sound fell, for a moment, the room was silent. Zhang Hongyi's face was almost dripping with blood, the little girl Qing He opened her small mouth slightly, she couldn't believe it, the little fox stood up, her big eyes were wide open. So soft. "Young master, please use fruit." The previous matter came to an end, a girl slightly older than Qing He walked in, quietly, and put the fruit plate she was carrying on the wooden table. "This person is called Kinko, and she is also Zhang Hongyi's maid." "Thank you, Kinko girl." Liu Chen was not polite, picked up a peach and took a big bite, it was crispy and sweet, but his eyes were slightly red and swollen, that was the price of impulse. He Kinko covered her mouth and chuckled, she ran back out. While eating peaches, Liu Chen looked at the reclining chair not far away. Zhang Hongyi on the reclining chair had returned to her original state, lying lazily with the little fox in her arms. She was still wearing the red gauze dress, her slender legs were slightly turned up, revealing a little spring. See Zhang Hongyi looking over. Liu Chen quickly glanced away. There is evil heart but no courage. Zhang Hongyi snorted softly, leaning on Bainan's right arm, and asked, "How is your considering?" "Not ready yet." "When will you think about it?" "At least, tomorrow morning." Liu Chen actually came to the Red Mansion court for two purposes, one was naturally to discuss with Zhang Hongyi about the purchase and sale of Circle Light Technique, and the other was to avoid vengeful monk Yuanzhen's revenge. Today he killed Hu's Hung. It's hard for Yuanzhen, who is so angry that he won't do it himself, and Liu Chen just managed to cultivate the immortal Changchun Kung Fu, and he hasn't practiced Qi, so it's hard to defeat the opponent. For safety's sake, it's better to stay away temporarily. It's up to you. Zhang Hongyi got up with the little fox in her arms, walked behind the screen with her bare feet, took off the thin gauze, and lay on her side on the beautiful bed. Her exquisite curves reflected a beautiful silhouette on the screen. What a goblin! Liu Chen muttered something in his heart, and asked aloud, "What evil skills are you practicing?" Qinghe, who had just entered the door, pursed her lips and chuckled, put down the teapot she was holding, poured a cup of clear tea for Liu Chen, and replied in a low voice, "Mother is like this, son, don't worry about her." Zhang Hongyi inside was very angry, and her heaved for a while. He snorted softly. "Just ignore it." Liu Chen took a sip of clear tea, took out a porcelain bottle from his bosom, poured out a grain of spiritual sand, handed it to King He, and explained, "Miss King He, please help me exchange some gold and silver. Deducted from it." "My lord, I've thought too much. Since my mother has invited you here, I'm naturally different from those ordinary people. There won't be any waste." "Then there's Miss Lao." "It's okay, copper coins can be exchanged for gold and silver, but gold and silver can't be exchanged for spiritual sand. In other words, slaves have taken advantage of it. Young master, wait a moment." King He left, and soon returned with 100 taels of silver. Liu Chen piled the gold and silver aside, chatted with the articulate Qing He, and took the opportunity to ask, "What's the matter with your mother, is it a monster?" Qing He shook her shoulders and laughed, exhorting, "Don't say that, let mother hear and beat you again. Mother is a fairy, not the monster you said. Then why open this red mansion court?" Qing He carefully glanced at the screen, seeing that there was no movement inside, she whispered, "My lord, do you know about cultivation talent?" "Know some. Mom, I heard that she is also gifted, her name is Matchmaker. Liu Chen was speechless for a while. It turned out to be the reason. No wonder he wanted to help people get married. It was probably good for cultivation, and the purpose of Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com opening a brothel was probably the same. Liu Chen lowered his voice and continued to ask, "How old is your mother?" Qing He giggled and joked, "Could it be that the young master has taken a fancy to my mother?" "Well, the young master is also a practitioner. Maybe he is the Ruyi Langjin that my mother is waiting for." Liu Chen's face was embarrassed, and he suddenly felt embarrassed. Call Chi Chi. The night was dark, and most of the glazed lamps were extinguished on the third floor of the Red Mansion garden, leaving only a few lamps reflecting the hazy night. Zhang Hongyi woke up leisurely, put on a gauze, and looked outside secretly. "I saw Liu Chen sitting on the horse with his waist down, pulling out the dagger from his waist again and again, as if he was tireless." Boring Zhang Hongyi stretched her waist, and lay back on the bed, with one hand resting on her forehead and the other on her lower abdomen. Soon, strands of red mist slowly gathered. The little fox at the side sat cross-legged like a villain, with its mouth opening and closing. Hissing. Liu Chen breathed out lightly, put the short knife back into the scabbard, rubbed his slightly sore right hand, and muttered, "It can be upgraded again." Looking back at the screen, he raised his hand lightly, "Expand. G-Dao upgrade conditions, 1. 1 day of sword practice, achieved. 2. 20 taels of silver, achieved. Name, Liu Chen sword technique, G-Dao has not been started, can be upgraded. Plus. Upgrade.